product of God's work. Good deal. On down in our text there, verse 30. Matthew 14:30. And immediately, but when he saw the wind boisterous, he was afraid. And beginning to sink, he cried, saying, Lord, save me. Well, they were terrified before. Isn't it amazing how keeping your eyes on the Lord take away the fear? But the minute you look back to the old world, you know, when you're first saved, there's always that kind of sideward glance, am I doing the right thing here? Have I really made the right decision? And after you've been saved for a while, you think, man, to think I would even think about going back to that. You got to think, what did I get saved for? Why did I trust Christ in the first place? Because he offered hope in a really messy world. He had beginning to sink, he cried, Lord, save me. And immediately Jesus stretched forth his hand and caught him. He said, O thou of little faith, wherefore didst thou doubt? He might have had little faith, but he had a little more than everybody else in that boat. So apparently that little faith is enough to get you out on the water and then keep your eyes on the Lord. Don't start looking at the problem. It was there before you got out of the boat. It was there when Jesus came. You were crying about that problem before. The fact that Jesus is ready to take your hand ought to take away the fear and allow you to walk freely. And when they were come in the ship, the wind ceased. Well, why didn't it cease before? Did you ever think about how your relationship with the Lord works when you're really in a mess? I mean, don't you get closer? I'll be honest with you. I wish I could say, boy, when people were getting saved, it was great. That was the closest I've ever been to the Lord. You know when I was the closest to the Lord? When I had my stomach ripped open from here to here to take part of my kidney out, and I'm laying in that bed in the Leahy Clinic, I can't move a muscle. And there's nobody there to help. I mean, it's, you know, there's nothing alone when you, like being alone, when you just feel like death warmed over. And you can't move. You can't scratch your ear. You can't move. You can't roll over. You can't get up. You can't move at all. And I can remember laying in that bed for the rest of the day after surgery. That was not too bad because I still had enough pain medication in there to kind of slow it down. But that night and the next day, I don't think I've ever prayed so much in my life. I don't think I've ever asked the Lord to do so much for me in my life. Did he? I'm here. I'm here. Jesus gets in the ship. Look at this. Anybody believe in time travel? Wind ceased, verse 33. And when they that were in the ship came and worshipped him, saying, of the truth thou art the Son of God. And when they were gone over, they came to land in Gennesaret. Another portion says he got in the boat and they were at the other side. Here they are 1 minute in the middle of the sea. Jesus gets in and they're in port. How's that work? Well, let me ask you this. If the third heaven is above all of the things you could see, and it's, I don't know how many hundreds and thousands of light years across all that, how does God do that? You know, that people go, well, one of these days we're going to go to the stars. I sincerely doubt that will ever happen. If you're going to go to the stars, the Lord's going to take you, or you ain't going. Because it's just, you can't live that long. It's just too great a distance. The complications are too far. They're thinking now, you know, it used to be, I love science fiction, but when you just jump in a rocket ship, you fly off to the moon, you fly off to Mars, and you live out there, and, you know, complicated and all kinds of scientific stuff. The radiation is so bad out there that even the machines they send out there have to be so overly shielded that a lot of times the radiation kills us. How are people that live in that? It's a death sentence. I think the Lord can take care of it, but I don't think anybody else can. It's impossible. And when the men of that place place had knowledge of him, they sent out into all the country round about and brought unto him all that were diseased, and they brought him that they may only touch the hem of his garment, and as many as touched were made perfectly whole. What do you think Peter and James and John and the men on that boat had to talk about when they got into port? You never believe it. Peter, that big dumb Peter, he got out of the boat and was actually walking on water. Really? Yeah, go ask him. Time and distance mean nothing to the Lord. The creator of the universe doesn't have problems with physical things. Apparently they can be bent, altered, shaped, twisted, in any way that he likes. You know, it's interesting, Peter's always seen as the most human of the disciples, the most failure-prone, and there's a reason for that. He was the one that always stuck his neck out and said, Lord, bid me. Lord, if somebody's going to walk on water, let it be me. Lord, if somebody's going to go with you to die, I'm going to go. Lord, if there's anything else that you get, I want to be a part of it. He said, what happened? He failed a lot. But boy, when you think about things happening in the New Testament, Peter's one of the biggest names that come to mind, isn't it? Because God took all Peter's failures and he said, you can't, can you? No, Lord, can't. But when I tell you to, you can do it. What you and I need to grasp out of all of this is, what are we asking the Lord to do? What are we asking the Lord for our lives to be? Are we willing to specifically ask him for something that somebody to get saved? God, change the conditions and I'll be a better Christian. Man, you better be careful with a prayer like that. Lord, just liable to turn the heat up and start boiling off some more of that dross. Lord says, that's not how it gets resolved, but if you want it resolved, we'll work on that. Don't ever approach God like, God, if that don't work, I'll do something else. Because that means you're not that sincere about it. The Bible doesn't say casting some of your care upon him, for he thinks about you every now and then. It says casting all of your cares upon him, for he cares for you. And finally, you've got to put your faith into action. You've got to get out of the boat. You've got to act on what your prayer was about. You know, my wife said that any visitor, every Sunday, who is at church, any visitor. It pains me, it's generally the same people. It pains me to say, no visitors. Because I suppose like you, live on hope. And I hope you witness to people. You pass out tracts. You preach to them. And you hope that they latch on to that. And that not only will they hear it and maybe believe it, they might actually get up and come to show themselves before the Lord. And when you don't, you just say, well, another wasted week, another Saturday, I could have been sitting home with my wife, talking with her, rather than staying out there getting frozen to death on the corner. Nothing done for the Lord's wasted. Who knows what any of that's going to produce? You got to get out of the boat. You got to get out and you got to try. And who knows what the impossible things is God's going to do for you and I this week. But we'll give him a try. Let's stand. 163, only trust me. 163.